Are we the inferior people in the world? What's up, everybody? Before we start, let's watch this. This is insane. This is crazy.
I give you this passport. After that, I show you my student visa, right? Yeah. Then what happened? You get my bag. Okay. You want to check it? I gave it. That's my duty, right? That's my duty. I gave you my bag. So I take your bag. Yes. What happened? After that, what's the problem? You come to me like this. You stand to me like this. You want to beat me, and you tell me in my ear. When I told you told me in my ear that I'm not Indian, right? You are not Indian. Yeah, I know that. That's why I took your passport. That's why I gave you this. That's why I took your passport. And why did you intimidate me? You want to? Why you want to beat me? Have the Indian citizen? Why you want to beat me? Do you have to Indian? I showed you. What's there? This is open it. Open it. Open your passport. Open the visa. And I have to change. That's the visa. I know. I'm Indian. Why do I have that visa? Have you any Indian? What's the use of the visa? You have an Indian citizen? No. Yes. That's why I want you. Okay. What's the use of the visa? Thank you.
This is insane, fellas. But before I start, please, Facebook says a lot of you guys watch videos, but you don't subscribe. Please do subscribe so we can push this channel further. Okay, so I'm very upset watching this video. I don't know if you feel the same way, but this is unacceptable. But this is the reality of most black people in a lot of places in the world, not just India. So from what we understand here, this young man is from East Africa. Not 100% sure from where, probably from Uganda, most likely between Uganda and Kenya, but I think it's Ugandan, I think. So he went to India, and you can see this is an Indian immigration officer or policeman, at least, trying to check his document. But the way he handled it, do you think you would do that to an American, white American, Irish American? No, I mean European American. Is that the new trend? Hey, European American. So apparently in a state right now, because they call black people African American and Mexicans African Mexicans and Indian native Indians, and Americans, from what I heard, it's only white people. So everybody else has changed. They started calling white people in American European American. And they're very pissed off when they hear that. When they call them European, you're European American, they get upset. Anyway, let's get back on track. So you can see the treatment is getting here. A treatment you will never ever given to a European American. Absolutely not. In India, there is a culture of dismay of black people. Okay, they really look down on black people. India has a population of black people, no doubt about that. But they are the very bottom of the society. They are the people that clean the sewage. They empty the toilet. The cleaners, those are the black people. Have you ever seen an Indian movie where the main character is dark skinned? You'll never see that. India is one of the countries in the world where people lighten their skins the most. Because the lighter you are, the more you are respected in society. The lighter you are, the higher the hierarchy of society. So this guy apparently been living in India for quite some time. As you can see some of his videos, he acquired a visa officially from an Indian embassy. You cannot go to India with no visa, no doubt, not as an African. They give you a visa, you take your flights going all the way to India. And this is not the first time, not the first story at all. You get to India just for you to be subjected to this kind of situation, to be pressed, asked questions, bothered. And you can see in this very case, he said to him he's going to beat him up.
That's my duty, right? That's my duty. I gave you my bag. So I take your bag. Yes. What happened? After that, what's the problem? You come to me like this. You stand to me like this. You want to beat me, and you tell me in my ear. When I told you told me in my ear that I'm not Indian.
Why would you beat him up? Because he's not behaving in a way they are used to seeing darker skinned people behave. So you're supposed to be humble. You're supposed to shut your mouth when I'm speaking to you because I'm lighter skinned. You're supposed to be at the bottom of the scale when I'm talking to you. Look at me. And don't look at my face. Look down when I'm talking to you. And shut your mouth. And he wasn't about that life because he had a legitimate visa. When you have a legitimate visa, you know on what ground you're standing in. And I'm sorry, I don't get the mentality where they give you a visa from a country in Africa just for them to bother you again at the gates. That makes no sense. So this guy's been living in India for quite some time. That we can see, he also apparently has a girlfriend in India. As you can see, apparently he's got a girlfriend. That's his girl. I mean, yeah, that's his girl. For whatever reason, he was returning to India. And from what we understand, apparently he says he's got a student visa. So he's probably a student, or he's been living there as a student. That's when he met his girlfriend and started a relationship. And obviously, when you go to another country, for the people that have traveled before, and you study or whatever activity you're engaged in, you very slowly start building a life. You have a girlfriend, you have a life, you have activities. So you feel some kind of feeling of belonging. Now, this was a rude awakening for this guy. And the guy said to him, you are not Indian. Because you are not Indian, I'm going to treat you in a way that is not acceptable.
When I told you told me in my ear that I'm not Indian, right? You are not Indian. Yeah, I know that. That's why I take your passport. That's why I gave you this.
Why we need to talk about this? Fellas, there are plenty of Indians living in Africa for many, many years now. Lots of years. Matter of fact, you go to Uganda, you're going to find a lot of Indians. A huge community of Indians are located in Uganda. They live like bosses. They have some of the biggest businesses. They have some of the greatest opportunities, the biggest hotels, biggest restaurants in India. And up until today, they still import people from India to come and work in these big establishments. Instead of hiring locals, the Indian community in Uganda, in most of the big hotels and stuff, they will still import people from India to come and work, as if the locals are not IQ'd enough. They're not smart enough to assume that role. In Kenya, you'll find Indians. Now, how did the Indian get to Africa? The biggest wave was when the British brought the Indians, especially in East Africa, to work on the railway. And this is the railway from Mombasa to Uganda. Mombasa is in Kenya at the port, and Kampala is in Uganda. They needed to build a railway for the train. Therefore, they decided to import in Indians. Now, I don't know what the British people were thinking, whether they thought black people were not smart enough to build a railway, or black people were stubborn, didn't want to do it. We have no idea. We can't confirm about that in East Africa, but we can confirm in Southern Africa that a lot of Zulus refused to work. Therefore, the British and the Afrikaans decided to go, especially the British, to go bring Indians into South Africa. And Durban today is the biggest city where you find the most Indians in the world beside India or outside India. Yes, there's a little India in South Africa, and they are all South Africans today. Now, let's focus on the Indians in East Africa. The Indian people in East Africa have incorporated the culture. They have created their own communities, and their communities is restrained, meaning no black people can enter. Indians intermarry between themselves. Indians in East Africa will marry an Indian person. Of course, you may find one in a million. It's standard. They're going to look down on you if you do that. And it's very sad. If you look at the way they treat Africans, you just need to go on TikTok and see that.
Indians in Africa, and especially in Kenya, we all know your ancestors were brought into these lands to come and build the railway line by the British. After the British left, you guys stayed to be part of us, which was only fair because you guys deserve to be here. But please, help me beg the older generation of Indians in Kenya to stop being racist towards the Kenyan people, towards the black. Pay black people the same wages you pay your own kind for the same services offered. A lot of Kenyans are suffering in all the industries that are Indian owned because they're being treated very brutally. There's a lot of racism. Please.
It's very sad to hear that when an Indian hires an Indian, they pay him a good salary. But when they hire a local Kenyan or Uganda, he gets peanut. Now, you may say, well, it's good. An Indian person has to look after his brother. But that's not their country. Yes, an Indian person should look after his brother. In India, not in a foreign land where the locals are being subjected to an unfair law. That makes no sense. So if you want to look after your brothers, go back to your country and look after them then. You can't come in other people's country and start treating other people special and some other people like trash. It makes no sense. And this is very sad. The story of this guy is not alone. It's not the only story. There are plenty of stories. Many students go to India and they get beat up really bad. Africans especially. Let me tell you what, fellas. You know some of these guys that make videos, they make vlogs, they travel all across the world. You see them in Afghanistan, you see them in Mongolia, you see them. What's that guy's name? It's this guy with a red-haired guy, white guy. Drusky. He traveled all across the world. I'm going to travel all the country. He's very interesting. Been to Africa, been treated nice. They will treat him nice everywhere in the world. You know why? Because of his skin color. They take a camera and go up the hill in Mongolia. Let's see if you're going to come back alive. No, take a camera, go to Afghanistan or Iraq or Iran and say, I'm vlogging. Do that, let's see. You can't. You can't even go to India freely. I mean, some of the people that went to India will tell you stories they've experienced there. And again, I'm not saying all Indians are bad. Absolutely not. What we're saying is, unfortunately, based on real experiences that people are having every single day, Indians in Africa live like kings. Let me give you a story. Back in time in Uganda, the man that you know with the name of Idi Amin, I know today people bash him quite a bit. They say he used to be a dictator, an evil man that drank blood and did all that kind of stuff. Well, Idi Amin perhaps was not the smartest person in terms of Western education, but Idi Amin had the heart for his people. What Idi Amin said basically was, I see in my country, there are plenty of Indians that are doing quite good in business. They own things, they own bars and restaurants, while my people are just servants. You are in Uganda, but you pay tax in Britain. You send your money back to India. It makes no sense. If you really are part of our communities, why don't you bank in Ugandan banks? Bank in Ugandan banks. I'm giving you time to bank in Ugandan banks. They refuse to do so. Why don't you intermarry? Why don't you marry our people? You're supposed to be here as Ugandans. How come you have a secluded community where nobody enters? You don't allow people in your community. It's like you brought a little India here where people still need mental visas to enter. Why don't you open up? They refuse to do so. That's how Idi Amin gave them a time frame. Can't remember exactly how long. It was like 48 hours or 2 weeks. I can't remember. He said you must pack your stuff and leave. Go to India, go to the UK.
Yes, they must go to their country.
Even nationals of Uganda.
If they want to go, they are welcome to go.
What will happen to these people if they don't go by the time limit?
I think they will be sitting like they are sitting on the fire. I will tell you this. You just wait after 3 months.
What will you do to them?
Okay, you will see.
That's when this guy's family, ex-Great Britain Prime Minister's family, also left Uganda, went to Britain. That's how many Indians went to Britain. Some went back to India. The goal of Idi Amin was not to persecute Indians. He was just pissed off to see in his country, they've accepted you nicely, but the way you treat their own people is unacceptable. The reality is this. Africans will always be treated in a certain way that is unacceptable. I'm sorry, to tell you the truth. Even in America, you can't even survive. You can't even drive your nice car in the neighborhood. Can you? You can't. You're scared because the police are going to stop you and probably going to unalive you. Now, we need to come together. That is why we say we need to come together as people. Go see what's happening in a neighboring country. Go create something positive. Bring some skills. Develop something. Let me know how you feel about this. I praise this brother because he showed a lot of resilience and he did not try to slow him. He didn't want to turn his head down. He didn't allow him to make him feel small. That guy clearly has got experience with Africans, and unfortunately, most of Africans will go like, "Oh, sorry, sir. Sorry, what do you want? Oh, how high do you want me to jump? Oh, sorry, let me crash down. I'm sorry." Probably for the very first time, that's an experience you will never forget. Before you go, subscribe, okay, and drop a comment. This is not me lecturing you. I'm sorry. This is not a show of me. It's about us contributing together. We need your mind. Drop a comment. We need to read you. God bless.